Okay, so real quick, to my fans that have been waiting for my Ogrim Doomhammer video, it's coming. It's right here. This is the script. It's all written, okay? So, it's coming. But that's not what this video is going to be about. I needed to make a quicker video that wouldn't take as much editing just to get out because I know you guys have been going 2 weeks now without a video. Sorry about that. I've been out selling my product that I make, and I got another show coming up in another week or two, so a little bit slow on this end, but after this next show, I'm good for the rest of the year. It's my last show. Anyway, for the fans and for the new people coming to talk about the bullshit that is now the World of Warcraft lore. I'm sure you already know from the thumbnail. I haven't made it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be funny or absolutely fucking stupid, however you want to look at it. But this is what we're going to be talking about, and the absolute ridiculousness that Blizzard is doing to the lore of World of Warcraft. Now, this right here just shows you that the people who are creating the lore of World of Warcraft, obviously not Chris Metzen, because I know for a fact he didn't do this bullshit, because a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today are things that he did in terms of characters. You can see them all lined up here. So, yeah. Basically, this is bullshit storytelling in general, especially for World of Warcraft. For the general part, why the fuck does an archmage have a wheelchair that flies? Think about it for a second. It's a wheelchair. Why does it need wheels if it fucking flies? Okay, we're not going to stay too much on that topic because that seems to be the point that everybody sticks on. Oh, well, why can it fly? That's kind of redundant. It is. It's stupid. But we're not going to be talking about that specifically. We're going to be talking about... Okay, let's just, for the sake of argument, say, sure, Khadgar in this last expansion, War Within, gets paralyzed, even though the method of him being paralyzed, I still think is fucking ridiculous. He gets disintegrated, comes back, dies again, comes back, all within a single, patch. So, this is already a fucking stupid and ridiculous story. But let's just, for the sake of argument, say, fine. He's gonna be a disabled mage, even though there's already fucking tons of them in the lore. So, why, when we have... They're doing this on purpose for representation. Now we get a disabled character when we've had many disabled characters already in the lore, and they're all badass. They don't fucking sit in misery with whatever they're disabled with, whether it's they lost an arm, whether they're blind, whether they can't walk, whatever it is. They don't sit in misery being, woe is me, I'll never be the same, I'm just too weak, I'm not how I used to be. No. They say, oh, I lost a fucking arm? Well, let's just go right back into the battle. Fuck it. I lost an arm, who cares? Let's just keep going. Those are the characters we want to see from Warcraft. The ones that say, I've been maimed. My entire body burned, seared to the bone. I just don't give a fuck because my honor, my nation, my whatever religious cult they're under, my race, my class, whatever it is under threat from the other side. We need to keep fighting until our dying breath. So, now this is going to be specifically for the fucking retards writing the stories at Blizzard. Let's go over the actual characters in the lore who are disabled and they don't fucking sit around going, woe is me. Because you obviously don't know the lore if you're going to do this to Khadgar. So, first one up, Drekthar. He is fucking blind, and he is still a badass. Now, the reason why I am starting with Khadgar is because right now, yes, he is in a wheelchair, but he's earned it, because you know what? This was him for the majority of his life. He was blind and was still a fucking badass, the leader, as it were, of the Frost Wolves for the time that they spent in Azeroth. Sorry, so I actually don't know if he uses the elements to see, or if he's just flat out blind. I don't know that much. There's not really a lot of lore on Khadgar, and what little we would have gotten, or what little we have is mostly from, what was it, the Lord of the Clans book. There's a few things in the game itself, like obviously he's the leader of the Frost Wolves in Alterac Valley, the battleground, where he will fuck up the Alliance if they encroach too fast on him. So, there's not a lot of lore to it. Now, it is hinted at that he sees with the elements. I know that they go into it more into Warlords of Draenor. They would have gone into it even more if it wasn't for his story being completely cut. Well, not completely, it was mostly cut. And there was, at one point, a time where he imbued himself with the elements. But Warlords of Draenor is the alternative universe, therefore it's not really canon. But even so, even if he isn't actually imbued with the elements to see through the elements, as another character we're gonna get to, I'm pretty sure you know who it is, he is still a badass, and he's there right now because he's just old. He's earned that wheelchair that actually gets wheeled around in because he can't fucking fly or use magic. You know, elemental magic is not actually magic in the Warcraft universe. So now let's go to the next one, this one is another fucking badass. And he's more so a badass than most of the other characters you're going to see. Guess what? He is missing, I don't know if you've noticed, he is missing a fucking arm. And you know why he's missing an arm? Because he tore it off himself. Like another character we're going to get to in a minute here. But he tore his own arm off to escape the elves who were brutalizing and torturing him, though I'm pretty sure he's done the same to them as well. They also took his eye, so he's half blind, so you get a half point there for his disability meter. So half blind, lost an arm, but guess what? Trolls in the World of Warcraft universe have the ability to fully regenerate limbs. Just like a fucking lizard or something, or like a salamander, they have the ability to fully regenerate. He could grow his entire arm back if he wanted to. He didn't want to. He, in fact, chose to keep his arm maimed just to show the elves how he can fight them with literally one arm and still be a fucking badass and slaughter all of them. That's how much of a badass he is. And I know I've said badass already like 20 times, have a counter up. I want somebody to count how many times I've used the word badass already, but I'm gonna keep using it. So now we go to the next one. Here's the second person who's chopped off their own arm. Kargath Bladefist. He chopped off his own arm to escape slavery. And you know what? He didn't say, oh, woe is me, I have one arm now. Whatever am I going to do? An orc needs both hands in order to wield their weapon. Well, how about if you latch the weapon to your fucking arm so you could still be a badass? And in fact, unlike the Warlords of Draenor version, which he just dies in the arena, which they cut his storyline. He was supposed to survive the arena and keep going on, which fucking is ridiculous. But in TBC, he is the final boss of, what was the dungeon? It was Hellfire. It was the last Hellfire dungeon. I can't remember. It was like Shattered Halls or something. I don't remember exactly what it's called. But he's the final boss, and guess what? Both of his fucking arms have weapons. How the hell does he wipe his ass? I don't know. But he's got an axe for one hand and a sword for the other hand. So yeah, he don't give a fuck. He is the embodiment of, as Garrosh says, orcs die bloody and thrashing on the field of battle. That is Kargath. So, now, to the next one. And this guy, now this is a brand new piece of art that Blizzard just released for their new upcoming expansion, Midnight. And I think it's pretty good, you know? I actually liked the art that they came up with Leodrin and all the other ones. It looks pretty good. But Lorthamar is blind in one eye. He lost it in, not quite the Scourge War, because that's technically Wrath of the Lich King. He lost it, like, Warcraft 3 era, when the Scourge marched upon his homeland. And at the time, he wasn't really a general. He was more like, I guess he was like a captain or a lieutenant. I have the manga that kind of explains it. So I just don't remember, exactly what. But, regardless, he is still half blind, so he gets a half a point, right? He's not like, you know, Kargath or Zul'jin, where he's completely missing a limb, and he's not completely blind like Drekthar, but that's still a half a point, right? He is still a badass. He don't give a fuck. He doesn't sit around. He wants to be in the action. Sitting around doing politics is boring to him. He hates it. He is quite open about it in both the books and the game itself, that he would rather be in the field of battle. He doesn't want to sit around. Now then, here's another blind character for you. Now, the reason I know this is a really fuzzy picture, it's because it's from an old, like, 2003 cinematic from Warcraft 3. But the reason why I chose this one and not any of the other higher resolutions is because this cutscene of Illidan shows him without his glowing eyes, so it kind of solidifies that, you know, blindness that he has, because when you see him in a regular photo, and he's got the green glowing from behind the blindfold, it still kind of shows, like eyes, so people don't really see him as blind. This is just like a mentality thing, but basically, he is blind. He has no eyeballs whatsoever. But instead of saying, woe is me, I'm just going to be a poor blind mage, which, by the way, Illidan was a mage before he turned into a demon hunter. That's his official class. So, instead of being a poor blind mage, he doesn't decide. It was kind of forced upon him to be imbued with a touch of, basically not even a pinch, like a grain of Sargeras's powers, which turn him into the demon hunter, fighting fire with fire, you know, the whole thing. But now it allows his eye sockets to burn with magic, and now he can see the magical, like, sphere. He can see magic in the air. So, it's kind of like Toph from, The Last Airbender, right? She can't see, but it's a type of vision through her earthbending. Same thing with Illidan. Now, this one is going to be the last one, because this is more of a should-have-been scenario. Now, this is Hamul Rune Totem. Now, if you did not know, I believe it was in... Oh god, was it? It was either in a book or it was during the Cataclysm expansion. I don't remember exactly when, but his entire body gets seared to the muscle. He is lit on fire by an enemy and basically almost burns to death. Now, the reason why I post him here instead of Bolvar is because Bolvar eventually becomes the Lich King and bypasses everything in terms of the pain and the searing, and also his burning flesh is generated by magical dragon fire, which it's not just fire that the dragon breathes, it's a magical fire meant to purify the plague that was in the area. That's why Bolvar lived from the fire and not just burn with everything else. So his disability is kind of bypassed two ways. I bring up Hamul because this is him in a, I'm going to say, newer expansion. I don't actually know which expansion this is. I can't exactly tell from the photo. But he's still alive. He's still kicking. And you can obviously see he's fully healed. Now, he is fully healed, and it could have been a mix of magic, really good shamanistic, or druid rather, herbs. But what if he wasn't fully recovered. He could live and he could be recovered in a sense, but what if he was still, like, scarred, like his entire body, which maybe it is technically in the lore and just they didn't want to do anything in terms of his model. They didn't want to give him a new model, but he could be completely seared, like parts of his fur missing, just completely mangled looking, but he's still kicking around and a badass. And that's almost, and I'm gonna say almost with no magical intervention, because again, a little bit of magic just to keep him alive, just to try to heal him, but magic has its limits, especially when he's one of the strongest druids in the game. You know, not including Malfurion, Brawl Bearmantle, and a few others. He's one of the strongest druids, so his I'll say helpers for the sake of I can't think of a different name, wouldn't be able to heal him as well as he would have been able to heal somebody else. So he'd be completely scarred up, but he still lived through that traumatic experience. So now we've pretty much got a, full range of disabilities now, from blindness to loss of limb, more blindness, completely being burned alive. This gives you an idea of the amount of bullshit that this is, because Khadgar is the most powerful mage right now. Not Jaina, it's Khadgar. Now, Khadgar, if you want to consider this lore as a disability, he's already been, what's the term for it? He's been, aged, right? I'm trying to think of a better terminology for it, but he had been rapidly aged. He was a young man, and when they killed Medivh, the magic that bounced back onto Khadgar turned him suddenly into an old man, and he was a little bit more frail, even though he's young. So even then, that was already a disability on him, because he's already just still an apprentice. He's not even a strong mage at this point. So that's already pushing him back further than what he would have been, and he still overcame it, and eventually becomes the most powerful mage in the game, because he's technically, even though he doesn't have the title, he is technically a, oh god, what's it called? No, not protector, what is it? The guardian. He's a guardian. So even though he doesn't have the title, he still has Atiesh, and he still is assuming that role in a sense, because Medivh was his mentor, and he learned under him, he studied in Karazhan, the whole thing. He is more powerful than Jaina. So he is the most powerful mage, and with all of the other characters we went through, why is it that, again, for the sake of argument, he becomes disabled? Why doesn't he use magic in a way that is badass? Like, I didn't think of this before the video, so give me a second, I'm gonna spitball a minute here. He literally could use magic to make himself walk, whether it's like a type of control where he's kind of controlling to be kind of like not an artificial limb, but act as again, I didn't think of this all the way, so forgive me, I'm trying to think of this as I go. When people lose their legs and they get the prosthetic limbs and they kind of have to walk with it, right? It's gonna feel weird because they can't feel anything, obviously, so it's like a peg leg almost, right? He could control his legs using magic, and he's gonna stumble a little bit, but at least he's got something going on that's kind of keeping him upright while he's hobbling along. Even then, what if he just wants to float and not try to walk, right? That could still be a hindrance. So, just fucking use magic to fly, right? Why does it need to be a wheelchair? He literally could just use magic to levitate himself. They use magic to levitate other items all of the time. It's not just a priest ability. Mages do it all the time to lift up books, lift up their pens and inkwells and all this other stuff. Being the most powerful mage, I don't think it's really out of the scope of him being able to lift himself up. You know what I mean? So, Or he could just be in a fucking magical mech suit. I really don't give a fuck at this point. As long as it's not a goddamn wheelchair, because again, it makes no sense and it's not badass. And right now, he's being woe is me. So, yeah, that is going to be the end of this video and my rant on how much the lore has fucking fallen. Yeah. Can we return to this, please? Or this? And not this? Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys later.